I'm so excited, folks, to introduce you to my special guest, Gary Boomershine. Before I bring him on, let me tell you just a little bit about Gary. I've had him on my show before. He was one of the top rating guests I've had since we launched this podcast in June of 2018. Just a little bit about Gary. I mentioned to you, he has got a done-for-you service on direct mail and outbound calls. He's done over 40 million direct mail pieces for real estate investors. He has done over 2 million outbound calls for his real estate investor clients. So he started back in 2005. He founded what he calls RealEstateInvestor.com, RealEstateInvestor.com. And quite frankly, Gary is on a mission to revolutionize the real estate industry and to reinvent how agents and investors do business today. So he works with, he and his team works with real estate agents, works with real estate investors on how to make more money while working less. And he's just an amazing guy. He's got a knack for staying out in front of what's emerging and what's changing. For that reason, Gary has just recently established a special free Facebook group that he's going to tell you about in just a moment that you can go to and sign up for. And this purpose of this Facebook group is to keep you informed on an ongoing basis as to what's changing in the community of real estate investors as relates to coronavirus and what's going on in the community. So with that, my good friend and colleague and brilliant real estate investor, mentor, and coach, Gary Boomershine. Gary, welcome to the show.
Oh, it's awesome to be here, Jay. So glad to be here and in the midst of this kind of crazy thing that's going on with all of us. This, I call it the cerveza bug, the coronavirus, the cerveza bug, COVID-19. So no, it's interesting. And, it's interesting to watch. I mean, a lot of us, and Jay, you've been around for a long time. I've been full-time real estate investing since 2004, but doing real estate my whole life. Real estate's been a 7-year cycle for over 100 years. I've been talking about this. I think I have probably 100 episodes of my own podcast, RealEstateInvestor.com Huddle. And I think almost every single one of those episodes, I talk about the 7-year cycle. It's been a 7-year cycle for over literally 100 years. And this is the longest cycle that we've actually had. We've been in sort of euphoria and that, planning around the coming of the market change, because there's massive transformations of wealth during these times. And really my mission has been preparing all of us for, what's to come. And then how do we position ourselves? I call it the 3 Ps. We're talking the 3 Ps with our own members, which is protect, pivot, and our protect, pivot, and profit, and how to do that in our families, as leaders in our communities, and leaders in our business, and all those types of things. And so definitely interesting times, Jay, right?
Well, I've never seen anything like it. Nobody living right now has seen anything like it. I mean, there's never been anything like it. So speaking of that, Gary, yes, as you just said, there's never been anything like this. So here's my first question for you. What are you and your team and your real estate investing clients doing different today than they were 4 weeks ago to do real estate deals?
Yeah. Well, first and foremost, we are practicing social distancing. But I'll tell you what social distancing means for me. If you go to Real Estate Investor Beacon, which is our Facebook page, I'll give it to you in a few minutes. But social distancing, me, my family, and a lot of us real estate investors and agents are social distancing ourselves from watching the crazy TV, right? I call it fear porn because people are absolutely panicked, right? You see it all over the news. Social distancing from being in my office too much. So I've been getting out at the park and walking. In fact, it's been amazing to see how many people that are out and about in my neighborhood. I'm in California. And so that's first and foremost. In terms of change, this is, it's interesting. This is a very interesting time that I think we don't really know what the next couple of months are going to look like. History is incredible clues to the future. But what we're seeing right now, the active, seasoned investors are taking advantage right now of this current market where they're seeing a lot of their competitors panicking and freezing and not doing anything, right? A lot of the competitors are basically out of the market, watching on the sidelines. We're seeing that there was a huge move in real estate called the iBuyer movement. So people that have been watching Zillow and Open Door and OfferPad, there's been, that's called instant buyer. Basically, people, big companies, institutional investors have been making offers, and it's been $3 trillion of money that has been available for sellers to sell their houses. Probably the biggest competitor for agents and investors in this last cycle, and that is push button gone. So imagine $3 trillion that's out of the market right now. And we're also seeing a lot of sellers that are a lot more motivated, that are panicking. Maybe they're not getting the rents. Maybe they got a portfolio and they're starting to have concern for not having rental income right now. And so we're actually seeing the people that are active in this business right now are getting incredible deals at lower prices. So that's what we're seeing. The second thing I'll share is follow-up off of the existing leads that you have is gold. We're finding that all of us, that's what we're promoting and telling everybody, hey, start working on this. You're going to be shocked at how well this works. And why? Because my business partner and I have been doing it. We're doing it with our existing RealEstateInvestor.com members and a lot of other people in our sphere that we're close to. We're going back to the old leads and we're re-engaging with them typically through some technology of sending out text messages, sending out ringless voicemail, emails, and having a phone person. We call that a lead processor or an inside sales agent reaching out. We're finding that the old leads are actually regenerating. People that said that they were not interested are now suddenly starting to be interested. So this is not a time, from my perspective, to be totally sitting on the sidelines. I think there's an opportunity to kind of revisit your business plan, get clear that this market is going to change, and do some reflection and get our house in order. But this is really not a time that I think that people should be fully sitting on the sidelines. Now, are we actively buying and taking down a lot of deal flow? No, wholesaling is incredible. A lot of our guys and gals are actively wholesaling. That's kind of their primary business right now. And then we see the opportunity for lending, becoming the private lender. We think that a lot of the money is going to start disappearing down the road over the next handful, the next 12 months. So learning how to be a private lender is an opportunity, learning how to buy creatively, because we believe that there's going to be a lot of opportunities. History has shown this, being able to pick up incredible deals where the seller is willing to finance. We're seeing that right now. I've been doing that for a dozen years, but we're starting to see more of that. And if you're positioned well, I think this is going to be an incredible market for us going forward.
Gary, you just mentioned follow up with your seller leads, your old seller leads that you weren't able to do deals. What would be your recommended approach when you call these people back up? Here we are, we got coronavirus going on. What would that conversation or that follow-up phone call sound like?
Yeah, so I have a team that does that right now full time. I think we're currently doing about 750,000 outbound dials. These are existing leads that we're following up on behalf of a lot of our members. And so typically the follow-up, and I can give the script that we're using for people if they want to do it themselves, or they can just come and use a service like RealEstateInvestor.com. But I'm happy to give the script. The script is, typically it's calling back the seller. Hey, we spoke recently about possibly buying your house. Or we like to use the word property typically when we call versus house, because they may actually have triplexes, they may have apartments, they may have vacant property and land. So, hey, we recently spoke to you about buying a property, and we're still looking for a few more properties this month and wanted to find out if you've had any more thoughts about selling, and using that as the icebreaker. And that's been working. We've been going back to people that said, remove me from the mailing list, right? These are existing leads, typically, not cold calling, cold leads. We're talking about the existing leads. There's an old rule around marketing, direct mail. You know this, Jay, you've been around this for a long time, but Dan Kennedy, sort of the godfather of direct mail for pretty much every industry, said the best leads that you'll ever have are those that you've already spoken with. And 80% of the profits come through follow-up. 80% actually come between the 5th and the 12th interaction with the seller. And less than 10% of any investors or any agents follow up more than twice.
Mm-hmm.
I want to repeat that. That's huge. 80% of all the profits come between the 5th and the 12th interaction,
Mm-hmm.
yet less than 10% ever follow up more than twice. So that script is very easy. We're finding, I mean, this is a house I'm living in. I bought creatively in 2010, east of San Francisco in a nice area. And this was a lady that wanted to be removed from the list. So she called concerned. She got a handwritten letter from us, from our service. And my wife and I were actually looking to upgrade houses in this particular area. And she asked to be removed from the list. We called her, had a very nice conversation. Turned out that my wife was in the same church group with her, a ladies group. And we put her on a follow-up sequence, automated follow-up. And the third follow-up letter she got, she actually called and said, hey, are you still interested in buying? And that's the house that we bought. So go back to all the old leads first. That's especially with this COVID-19, of go back to those leads. You want to re-engage with them, and you'll find incredible opportunities related to that. A lot of we're also seeing a lot of people that are doubling up on their direct mail right now, especially the bigger investors that have been doing this. They are not sitting on the sidelines. They're taking advantage of the fact that, hey, the market's turned. They're going to have a lot of competition that's out, and a lot of sellers that are, now starting to think about, hey, maybe this is a good time. We're finding inherited properties that are vacant are the gold mine right now. So inherited. Why I say that, because a lot of the properties that are occupied are harder to show with this whole COVID virus. So being able to go after vacants, inherited properties, burned out landlords, those have been very, very good ones.
So on following up or making outbound calls, you've got an outbound calling service. How does that service work? Where does the list come from? How does your team interact with your real estate investing clients? Just overall, how does your outbound calling service work?
Yeah, that's a great question. So there's not one flavor fits all. We take a very holistic, personalized approach with each of our members. We call them members because, there's also an interview process. We want to make sure that we're a good fit for them and they're also a good fit for us.
Mm-hmm.
Because we don't want to generate, sellers that these people are making commitments to, and then our members are not following through on their promises. Our brand is very important to us. So RealEstateInvestor.com, we have kind of some flavors. We actually merged, we acquired a couple of companies, software companies in this business. Property List Manager and Investor PO was owned by Robert Seifert. So we actually went through a purchase, acquisition, and merger of our businesses under RealEstateInvestor.com. So it starts with a software follow-up system. The system is what is really key. It's the platform to run our business as an investor or agent, primarily for marketing and sales. And that's a low-cost system, $100 to a couple of $100 a month, depending upon the need. And then we have what's called managed. So there's touch, grow, and managed. And managed, people used to know that as REI Vault. That was the former name of the business that I ran. And that's the staff. That's the team of experts that people can tap into and borrow our team to run the systems. And so we have a phone team as an example. We call them sales ninjas. So as the leads come in, and we can generate the leads for our clients. We do that for a lot. I think we send out about 1.5 million pieces of direct mail as an example a month. So we can manage all that mail to make it the best, most consistent flow of leads. And then when those leads come in, they come into a software system that then automates all of the follow-up, all the text messages, exactly what the text is to say. So as an example, if somebody comes in from an on-carrot website or they come in from a direct mail, they're going to go down different routes depending upon the type of lead. like somebody calls in off a direct mail and they hang up, that's going to get a very different response from somebody that says that they want to sell their house immediately. So we automatically follow up, and then we can also push that automatically to the phone team, a professional group of people that will get on the phone and call the seller and interview them, typically a 6 to 8 minute interview, professional interview, to qualify them, screen them, and schedule an appointment on behalf of our member. So at the end of the day, most of us in this business are professional investors or agents, and we want to be in front of the money. Is actually talking and closing qualified, ready, motivated sellers. It's not doing all the the hard work of marketing and tinkering around with systems and making phone calls. That's like $5 to $10 an hour work. So people could actually tap into our phone team. It's they can for everything we do, it's it's going to be about the same price if they were going to hire somebody overseas to do it themselves. I mean, like $5 to $7 an hour. But now you got a professional team. You don't have to hire people. You don't have to train them. You don't have to manage them. People forget about that. They'll hire somebody in the Philippines, and then they forget how much time they have to manage and train and keep those people motivated. So that's what we handle, all of that.
So when a real estate investor hires your team for this type service, does the real estate investor have to provide the list, or does your team provide the list?
We have a combination of both. I would say 80% of our clients have us pull the list. We are absolute experts in the industry. We've got more experience than anybody on how to make direct mail work, the type of piece to send, the perfect words, whether to put a website or no website on it. We have 2 proprietary mailing lists that we provide our members. Proprietary meaning that you can't go buy this list anywhere. This is kind of follows a science. So we have a list called the Invisible list, the Invisible. And that was actually named by one of our members years ago that said, this list is invisible to my competition, the way we pull it. That's mostly inherited properties, mostly absentee, and mostly free and clear. And one additional filter that we've been doing is actually testing it through our software. And this is available to everybody, but we can actually pull the vacants. Now, we have that list. We have another one called Shipwrecked. The Shipwreck list is sort of made up of about 6 lists: people that are recently divorced, recently deceased, people in abatement, code violations, so abatements on their properties. There's also the foreclosure. And then we reverse engineer to pull those based on equity. So we'll pull a list and then we'll filter out equity. And then that's typically what we'll do for our members. Our software now, if people don't want us to do it, our software you can actually just use our software to do data stacking and you can actually pull lists right off of our software. And also recently, over the last 6 weeks, we added the automated skip tracing. So now people can skip trace for phone numbers right through our service. So it's pretty cool.
Do you recommend combining direct mail and outbound calling, both strategies, for the same list?
Absolutely. So here's what we would recommend. And number one, let's just talk about what are the best ways to find the motivated sellers right now. So direct mail, outbound text messaging, broadcast text messaging. You got to follow the laws around that. And ringless voicemail, RVM. Also, you have to be very watchful in terms of the laws around that, what state you're doing it. Like you can't do that right now in New York, as an example. So it starts with the list. So you typically will pull the list. We'll do it for our members if they want us to. And then the second piece, we data stack it. So typically you're stacking multiple lists to find out the ranking. It's an algorithm to find, okay, I want to take an absentee list. I want to take a recently deceased list. I want to take an inherited list and a probate list, and I want to stack them through automation. And then I want to find the combination where they're on at least 2 or at least 3 or at least 4 lists. So we'll typically do the data stacking, and then we'll actually skip trace that. So we'll direct mail that list. We'll also cold call it. Some people do ringless voicemail. We actually do that today, but actually been working with the attorneys getting their one of the top FCC attorneys, like doing all the evaluation of our software to make sure that we're compliant with the laws. But these work, they're proven, they're scalable, they're predictable, so and measurable. Like, direct mail works. It's worked. It's time tested, and typically you spend $1, depending upon what your real estate strategy is. You spend $1 on marketing on direct mail. You're typically, if you're a wholesaler, you're typically like $4 to $6 or higher in return on investment. So spend $1, make $4, or spend $1, make $6 is how it works. If you're buying creatively, as an example, most people spend $1, you're probably making closer to $20 over the long haul.
The services that you provide, Gary, are really, really turnkey and all inclusive. At what point in time does the real estate investor himself or herself actually get involved with the lead after you all have started the marketing process?
Yeah, it's so funny. That comes up a lot. There are a lot of people say, "Hey, you do all this stuff. What have you left for us to do?" And we don't close the deal. So we can take it all the way to the point of like divvying you up a fully screened, motivated seller that says, "Hey, I got a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house. It's vacant. It would rent for approximately this much. And this is the least amount that I'd want if you were to give me a quick offer." And an appointment. So they're putting you on appointments, and it's your job as the client, the real estate investor, to go negotiate it and get the deal and then take it from there. So and by the way, at the end of the day, you can automate everything. You can have a team to do everything. But the one thing that you cannot automate in this business is you got to talk to people. You know that, Jay. A lot of people, they try to do everything except talk to the sellers. And that's where all the money is, right? And so we do everything to get people to talk to people. And, being in front of a seller is $1,000 to $10,000 an hour, work, where people so that they don't have to spend the time doing the $10 an hour work, pulling lists and things.
Exactly. So, Gary, can you read Rick's question?
All right. My question is, with what is occurring, and it appears many folks are not working, do you think people are buying properties and not working? Do you think, oh, that's a great question. Okay. So what we're finding for everybody, this comes up all the time. We are definitely seeing deals that are being done right now. However, there are some buyers, depending upon the particular market. Some of the buyers, like a lot of the rehabbers and some of the fix and flippers, are in the coastal markets. If that's their primary business, we're actually seeing some of them changing their buying criteria. So, instead of buying at like some, a higher after repaired value, we're seeing them start to reduce those numbers. Where we're really seeing the activity with the buyers is on the rental properties. We are not seeing a real turnoff on people that are still buying properties for cash flow. So what we're recommending everybody do, like our clients, our members, and the people that follow Robert and I, is to reach out to their buyers. This is a really good time to re-engage their buyers and add more buyers to their list. We're not seeing a change on that. The other thing that's interesting, we are not seeing a lot of people who were getting hard money, private money. We are not seeing a slowdown on the private money. So the hard money lenders, I'm not talking necessarily about all the institutional investors, but a lot of the hard money lenders are still lending. I know this because I am a hard money lender, and I'm funding a deal today, funding a deal for $453,000 in California. And a lot of us, a lot of people that just got crushed on Wall Street, and a lot of people that have concerns about having their cash in the bank, they want to get them into lending. So there's a lot of money going into the hard money, private money arena right now. I don't see that changing in the foreseeable time frame. As long as that money is available, the buyers are still buying.
Gary, I'm experiencing the same thing. Over the past 3 weeks, I've had more private money from, I call mom and pops, individuals that either already have private money with me or their friends are wanting to get private money with me. So there's a huge opportunity right now to educate people on what private money is and to actually get more private money for your deals.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I've been talking about this for years. I've been looking to this market. A lot of us have been moving out of, fix and flip and rehabbing into wholesaling as a hedge around a downturn. I mean, this real estate market, we've been in a euphoric stage of real estate. And also what's interesting is if we look at the 7-year cycle over the last 100 years, the cycle has changed. And I've been talking about this. If you listen to me, I've been talking about this. It has never been natural supply and demand. It has always been a external event. And I actually use the word boogeyman event. So you can take that however you want, but it has been an external event. We had, the mortgage crisis that popped out of nowhere, right? All of a sudden, everything is great with the industry. The federal Greenspan, Alan Greenspan came out and said, hey, everything is great with the subprime mortgage, and boom, banks fail. 7 years almost to the day, the Shemitah calendar, if anybody actually follows it, which is kind of interesting, was 9/11, an external event. You can go back, the oil embargo, the Cuban Missile Crisis, the Depression, all the way back. It's always been that. So I've been saying, hey, natural supply and demand, usually the curve. So let's probably gear up. And it just happens that, we've got the cerveza bug that we're dealing with right now. I think my prediction is this is a great market right now to be wholesaling, not to be loading up unless you get incredible rental opportunities. I think the market, and what I've been looking at historical research, not that I have any crystal ball, but watching these cycles and patterns, is that we're going to see over 18 months a decrease in value. And in some areas, like the coastal areas, probably greater than the linear markets like the center of the country. Even North and South Carolina, I think, are fine. Those are the markets that have been pretty stable during downturns. But then massive inflation, and you want to be an asset. So I think the property values are going to absolutely skyrocket over the next 10 years to a point where most people in the US will not be able to afford houses. And those are the ones we want to be in. So right now, over the next couple of months, 4, 5, 6 months, a great wholesaling market, great opportunity to make money, and then start building up a portfolio. And I believe in cash now, cash flow, cash later. And looking at our real estate portfolio in those 3 buckets, cash now being kind of flipping properties, wholesaling properties, cash flow being lending and rentals, and then cash later is the massive appreciation buildup of ownership, right? Of how to truly become wealthy and rich over the long haul, generational wealth. So I think this is an incredible market for people that are well positioned right now. And especially if you're learning how to do some of the creative deals, which we're sharing our model of how we do it with our clients.
Gary, thank you so much for being here on the show with us today. And please let everybody know about your free gift that you have to offer everyone and how they can claim it.
Yeah. So I was actually speaking at an event right before this whole thing happened in front of 400 people. And it was basically how to build a business, this real estate business, how to build a business that works for you, for us. So easy to get trapped as a workaholic. I know firsthand. And so I walked through and I actually recorded that. And that's available on our Facebook page that I'll give to everybody. But at that event, I gave away a whole bunch of free stuff, that tools and things that have helped me really reinvent my life, as I wanted to share with other investors. I've got scripts. I have everything that you want to know and everything we've learned around direct mail and lead generation. All of our tips and techniques is in a guide, definitive guide on direct mail, scorecards, all kinds of good stuff. So I'm going to give out that number. It'll probably pop up on the screen here. There it is. 925-320-3080. Now, this is a text. What you want to do is you want to get your phone out right now. I don't know how long this will last, so you'll want to get it out right now and just text. You can put your name in there. You can say Jay, just so that we know. But we're not going to be marketing to you. It's just within about 10 minutes, you'll get an email or you'll get a text message with a link with all of the gifts. But that number is 925-320-3080. And just text that number. And in about 10 minutes, you'll get a response. That's actually using our software system, the same system we use, RealEstateInvestor.com, with our members. And the reason it takes 10 minutes is that whenever you're interacting with a seller or a buyer, we automate all that on the buyer side too. You want it to look as real as humanly possible. And so you wouldn't want a response that's instantaneous, because people would know that that's an automation. You want it to be human. And so we wanted to just show you what it looks like coming out of our system. And then if anybody needs any help, great place to go. We did this just for the COVID-19 group of keeping us all connected. You can go out to our it's a public Facebook group. We're live on it for a couple hours a week, free training. We don't sell anything there, but that's facebook.com/groups/REI Beacon, or you could just search for it. It's Real Estate Investor Beacon. And we'd love feedback, love comments, what you need help with. And just like Jay, we're interviewing our friends and people that are doing this business today and sharing what's working and what's not.
Gary, I only got to 10% of my questions, so may I have you back on the show very soon to have you on for part 2?
Absolutely, Jay. It's always a pleasure, and I love having you on our show as well. It's great to be with great people and in an industry that is, gosh, you know, it's done so much for you, it's done so much for me, and it's an opportunity to give back to all of us.
Well, Gary, I love your heart. I love how it is you are always seeking for ways to serve people. Birds of the same feather flock together. Folks, as we wrap it up, one more time to take advantage of Gary's free gift and free guides, text 925-320-3080. For those of y'all listening to the podcast, one more time, text 925-320-3080 and just put there in your text, you can put my name Jay, or you can put Gary's guide. In either case, about 10 minutes after you text, his free guide will be sent back to you. Also, take him up on his free offer on his Facebook group, which is called Real Estate Investor Beacon. Just go to Facebook and search for Real Estate Investor Beacon, and you'll find him there. Gary, God bless you, my friend. I love you, brother, and thank you so much for coming on the show.
Amen, Jay. And you know, 1 Timothy 1:7 says, God did not give us a spirit of fear, but of love and of self-control. And I always love that. I've been sharing that with our group, and especially right now at this time for so many of us, I'm seeing a connection like I've never seen. You know, it's a lot of us have been, and I think that a lot of good is going to come out of this in the uncertainty times. And so appreciate all of you, and God bless you, Jay.
Thank you, Gary.